know there'll always be a honky-tonk in Texas. And from the dance floor you will hear twin fiddles play. At last call there'll be a jukebox in the corner, playing He Stopped Loving Her Today.
And here we are, off and running on another episode of Curt Ryle's Road Stories. Have you missed us? We've been gone a while. Curt, how are you?
Well, it's been a couple of weeks, hasn't it? I mean,
yes.
Yeah, it's been a crazy couple of weeks here, man. I've been staying really busy, and I hear you've been pretty swamped too.
Yes, we're trying to make some things happen here, just burning the candle at both ends and see what happens here. But I've been looking forward to this, man. I missed you.
Yeah, I missed you too, Brand. I've like I say, we've been in the studio working quite a bit. Clarksville Creative Sound is good things are happening for us here, man. We've Steve and I were on the phone today with a guy that it's a long, interesting story, but it looks like we may have a platform that we didn't have just a short time ago. This guy, I believe we're getting ready to grow in leaps and bounds. So
nice. That's
good things are happening.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah.
I know everybody's tuned in today. They're wanting to get that peek behind the curtain that you give them every time we're here for Road Stories.
Well, we this company's been taking off, but it seems like lately we've just really started adding a lot of radio stations to our company, and it just looks good, man. I mean, we got some great things happening, and so I'm excited about what we're doing.
That's excellent, man. I love to see all the success here, and I like to see all the people that are being helped along the way, because there's a whole bunch.
Yep. Looks like we're going to have a lot of touring dates that are going to open up for us as well. We're talking about possibly doing some tours, maybe Albuquerque, Amarillo, several venues. So, nice. Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Excellent. Everybody can stay plugged in if they follow Clarksville Creative Sound on the Facebook page, and follow all these other pages that are kind of the offshoots of this page, and we'll keep you posted on all the latest.
Yeah, I noticed we got a lot of people coming into this thing too. Did we get all of our bugs worked out, Brent? We had some issues earlier today.
We did. Yeah, we got them all done, all taken care of, man. We're ready to rock and roll, man.
Yeah, awesome. I see Marlene. My gosh, we got so many people here already. Anyway, let me start this thing off by just saying, I've always had a lot of people asking me about what it's like on the road, to be going down the road in a Silver Eagle bus, and what it must be like. And, I was thinking about it, and I thought, I remembered a 5-month tour that we went on back in the early 90s. And I was working at that time with Vern Gosden, who was a male vocalist of the year. He was probably the hottest thing out there on the radio. And, a lot of people think, wow, it must be such a glamorous life going up and down the road on this big, beautiful bus and working with a big star like that. And I thought, yeah, I remember one tour that we did that took us out to California. We ended up going to Bakersfield, San Francisco, and it was just it was one of those tours you get on a bus and you leave Nashville and you don't start working until you get to California. So we had 4 or 5 days of absolutely just nothing but riding on the bus. And so I remember it was we were sitting on a bus one day, and I was so bored just looking out the window, and there's really very little to do, looking at the scenery. And I must have sat there for, I don't know, what seemed like hours just looking out. And we had this guy in the band, and this guy's name was Curtis Wright. I'll never forget this. Curtis was a great friend. Yeah, there's Curtis right there. Curtis and I were pretty good buddies out there on the road. And Curtis, we used to play a lot of pranks on each other. But I remember he was laying on the couch on the front, up at the front of the bus. He was asleep. So we're just kind of like guys are sitting around and I got to look and he always wore these same white shorts. Everywhere this guy went on the road, he wore these same shorts. And so this particular day, I remember I had some magic markers in my suitcase, and I got this bright idea that I was going to paint something on the back of his shorts. And he loved those shorts, and I knew that it was going to be a war over it. But anyway, I got these markers, and I started sketching, and I sketched a picture of a cat, you know, and this cat's like just standing there. And I mean, I had this thing drawn out pretty good. You could tell it was a cat. And I thought, well, what, what would be even funnier is if I drew another cat. So I drew another cat up on top of this one cat, humping this other cat. Yeah, it looked kind of like that. Except my picture wasn't quite that good, but I remember drawing this thing, and when I got through, everybody on the bus is just laughing, and we're all sitting there. And a little later, I told my guys, I said, let's don't say anything. Just let him wear this around a while, and let's see where this goes. So, he woke up. Of course, we stopped at a restaurant, and he's walking around in this restaurant where people are staring at his butt, and he's got these two cats on there. And he came to the table, and he was like, "Why do people keep staring, man?" He said, "I feel like people were staring at me and laughing." And I said, "Well, Curtis, you look kind of stupid, I mean." And he said, "Well, why? I don't look any stupider than I normally do." And so, it was funny because he eventually went to the bathroom and he saw this, and this was a funny thing, but he was really, really upset about these shorts. He loved these shorts, man. And he actually, he's like, "Okay, I know who did this, And he said, but I'm really, really upset about this, man. I really like these shorts, man, and now they're ruined." And of course, we're on the bus, going down the road, and Burns said, "Well, Curtis," he said, "they're just a pair of shorts." He said, "Yeah, but," he said, "they're totally just destroyed." He said, "And I don't have anything else to wear except long sweatpants." And Burns said, "Well, maybe you ought to sue Curt for them shorts, And everybody starts laughing, and he said, I would sue him if I could." And Burns said, "Well, we're just going to have court right here on this bus." And so Burns says, "I'll be the judge." He said, "So you see," there he was right there. He said, "I'm going to be the judge." He said, "You guys," he said, "you pick out one of the guys in the band to be your attorney to represent you." And he said, "And then we'll let the attorneys have opening statements." And he said, "We're going to get this thing solved, And he said, "If Curt is guilty," he said, "then he's going to have to buy you some new shorts." And so this is how crazy it was out there, Brent. There was nothing to do, and we start making up stuff like this. And I'll never forget. I said, "Well, I'm going to get Mike Baker." He was this guitar player. I said, "I'm going to get Mike to play to be my attorney." And so Curtis, he picks Tony Piro. Tony was the drummer in the band. And so Burns said, "Okay, now everybody just sit down." He said, "We're going to start this court, And so Mike stood up and he said, "Well," he said, I'm going to plead insanity." He said, my client is pretty much insane." He said, "He's been on the bus a long time," and he said he just kind of lost touch with reality, and he just kind of drew these pictures of these cats on Curtis's ass. And so, and Tony stood up and he goes, "Objection, Your Honor, objection." He said, "That guy right there is full of shit." And Burns said, "Wait a minute. There ain't gonna be no damn cussing in my courtroom, you sons of bitches. You understand?" And this is how this went. And so everybody's like, Burns says, "There's gonna be order in this court." So anyway, they go on, and this goes on and on and on, Brent, for hours. And of course I played this terrible victim. I'd been bullied, and Curtis had bullied me, and and this went on forever. And I'll never forget. Finally, Vern said, well, we're going to turn this over to the jury and let them make a decision. And the band comes out, in favor of Curtis, and I ended up having to, yeah, I was guilty. So I had to buy I had to buy him some new shorts, and this was the order of the court. So when we got into California, I went and found this perfect pair of little pink speedos. That would, yeah, that's it right there. They would fit about a 12-year-old, and I gave them to him, and of course he was so mad. He was still, I think to this day, Curtis is still mad over them shorts. I mean, we don't talk very often, but when we do, his first thing he brings up is those shorts.
And we should mention that he went on to write "Woman in Love" for Ronnie Millsap, which was a #1 hit. Also wrote Clay Walker's first #1, "What's It to You," and Daryl Singletary's "Too Much Fun," which hit #4, but was a huge song. Also wrote for Conway Twitty, John Anderson, Steve Wariner, and Patty Loveless. So he went on to quite a career here. You didn't scar him too bad.
No, the thing about Curtis was he was an amazing singer, and he had been offered so many recording contracts. He was really one of the better singers that I've ever heard out there. And I don't think he really wanted to be an artist. I think he just really wanted to be a songwriter. And he did come in the studio here not too long ago. We sat down, and I actually hired him to come in and do some harmony parts on one of Braden Ryle's records. And he came in and did it. And I think Curtis is not. I don't think he's living in Nashville now, but the guy has truly had a long, successful career. But it just goes to show. I mean, what you do on the road to try to pass the time. It's crazy. And I mean, one time I remember we went to a mall, and we stopped, and we'd been out there, and we got out and we were walking through this mall, and of course Curtis, he's told me, we walked into the store and we saw these mannequins, and it's like in like a J.C. Penney, and we're standing there just looking around, and Curtis said, "Hey, Kurt," he said, "I'll give you $100 if you'll act like you're having sex with that mannequin." It's like I think we lost touch with reality after a while on that particular tour. And I remember looking at him and I said, $100 is a lot of money, Curtis. And he goes, "Well, if you do it, I'll give you $100. And so, of course, that's all it took. And I get up here and I'm behind this mannequin, and he's got all this little night yells. So I just raise it up and I'm just slapping it on the butts, yelling, "Who's your daddy?" I know, oh, this is embarrassing. I can't believe I'm even telling this, but I really did it, and he had to pay me $100. But mall security came and kicked us out of the mall, and we were not allowed to go back.
Boy, just when you think you know a guy.
It's craziness out there, Brent. It's not what it's cracked up to be. Merle Haggard said it better than anybody. Merle said, "My career was nothing but a long bus ride, 45-year bus ride." And that's really what it is. You get to a venue, you get out, you play the concert, you're on stage for 45 minutes to an hour, you're back on that bus, and you're gone again. And that's really about, when you talk about life on the road with a big artist like that, we were doing 250 dates a year. All I really remember is the bus rides and the things that we would do to try and, just pass the time. It was so boring. I remember one time working with Mel Tillis. Mel Tillis, I love Mel Tillis stories. I can never tell enough Mel Tillis stories because this guy was so funny, Brent. Everything that came out of his mouth was just hilarious. And I'll never forget, Mel was probably one of the biggest stars out there, and they invited him to go fishing in this tournament on Percy Priest Lake in Nashville. And there was Mel. That's about what he looked like that day. We were out there, and I remember looking around at the other celebrities that were in this fishing contest, and it was a little Jimmy Dickens, Porter Wagoner, John Anderson. I mean, and there's just a whole lot of these artists out there in these boats. And, I'm here, we got Mel's got his little crew out here, and I just remember looking over and watching Jimmy Dickens, and he was bringing in 3 and 4 and 5 pound bass, man, and all these guys were catching fish, and Mel, he hadn't caught anything. I mean, we had been in that boat for hours, and I'm like, wow, Mel, you suck, man. He goes, I'm gonna catch a damn fish. You just watch. And after a few minutes, he comes out with this fish, and it was probably about, I'm guessing, 6 or 7 inches long. And I'll never forget. It's the only fish he caught. I said, Mel, you might as well throw that back. I said, hell, I saw Jimmy Dickens catch a bigger fish than that, and that he threw away. And Mel said, well, the tournament says whoever catches the fish that weighs the most. He said, so size don't have anything to do with it. And I said, well, of course size has everything to do with it, Mel. If the fish is little, it's not going to weigh as much as a big fish. He said, well, take the boat over there to the bank. And I said, why? And he just said, just do it. So we take the boat and we head to the bank. Mel gets out with this little fish and starts stuffing its mouth full of rocks, little pebbles. He's just stuffing that thing. After a while, it's about this big around, but it was only this long. It was bigger around than it was long. And then he takes and he sews its mouth up, and he said, yeah, let's go weigh our fish in. So we go back, and everybody's boats are docked. They're carrying the fish. And I remember John Anderson he probably had a 5 pound bass. And that thing was like this long. And they're all weighing their fish in, and they get up there, and they're all in a line. And then here, all of a sudden, here's Mel. He raises up this fish that looked like it was totally deformed. It didn't even look like a fish. It looked more like a ball. And he stuffed all these rocks in it. That thing must have weighed about 15 pounds. And of course, they took that thing and they looked at it. And I'll never forget the guy hold it up. He said, Mr. Tillis, I think there's something wrong with this fish. And everybody's just busting out laughing. And I remember Mel said, well, he just hasn't digested his food yet. And so the fish, of course, didn't win the contest, but it was hilarious. And that was the cool thing about Mel. No, there was never ever a dull moment working with that guy, Brent. He was the funniest guy, and you never knew what he would say. A good example of Mel, real quick, was in a hotel room somewhere. I don't know where it was, but I remember, and I wasn't on this trip, but Mel told me this story himself, so I know it was true. And he said that they were in a hotel room. Well, there's a bunch of band members, all of his band members in there, and they're just having fun. But there were some girls in that room that shouldn't have been in that room. And our Mel was talking about it. And he said, I looked out the window, and he said, I saw our wives coming across the parking lot. And he said he was trying to tell everybody and warn them. He was going, hey, and he was pointing, but nothing would come out. When Mel got really excited like that, he would stutter really bad. And this particular day, he's looking at the wives walking across the parking lot. He's trying to warn these guys. And finally, somebody said, Mel, don't talk, just sing it. And so to the melody of Burning Memories, Mel goes, our wives are walking across the parking lot. And of course, women just start spattering. And, it was just one of those things that he everything the guy did was just hilarious. He was just crazy. But so anyway, that was life on the road. For all of those people out there who want to know what it's like to be out on the road, that's what it was like.
But all the pranks and hijinks and all that stuff, man, you would have gone seriously crazy if you didn't have that, I bet.
I could literally sit here, Brent, for hours and hours and talk about things like that we did that it's almost beyond belief of what you'll do out there to pass the time. But, I'm sure there were a lot of band musicians that didn't have our crazy sense of humor. I can only imagine what it was like for them. But, we really turned it into a good time. We had a lot of fun, And so, yeah, I think, And Vern, he could be pretty fun to be on the road with. I mean, you get him off the stage, you get Vern on stage, he was a real serious guy. He was always real serious. But you get him off the stage, you get him on that bus. We had a lot of fun with him. A lot of fun.
Well, I can't wait to hear more of those stories on down the road, man.
Oh, they're never ending. And I just want to take a second and just go scroll through here and see who all we've got in here. Oh my gosh, we got. It's funny. We never have gotten our little thing worked out where we know exactly who we're talking to.
Right.
Dina Woods showing up. I see her picture on here. Most of the people don't have a picture, but man, there's a lot of people in this room.
Maybe a lot of people in witness protection program or something here.
Yeah, I noticed that. Well, I think Terry Romero is here, and oh my gosh, I see Darren Wright. You're a big fan of Darren Wright,
I
aren't you?
am. I really am, man. I think he's one of those guys that is carrying the mantle for true traditional country music. I couldn't be happier with that, man. Just
I've seen your playlist more than once, and Darren Wright is always on that playlist.
Absolutely.
And he's got a brand new album that we just finished recently, and as a matter of fact, we're releasing in about 2 weeks. And he's got a brand new song coming out that's really, really good. I think you're going to like it.
I love it. Can't wait to put it in the spotlight and get it on Real Strong Radio so everybody can hear it. And it'll be playing right along Vern Gosden and Mel Tillis and George Jones and Merle Haggard and all the greats, man. And I think he, belongs right in that mix.
We got another guy in here named Brian Moon. Brian was in the studio just about a week ago, and he's doing a duet right now with the great Leona Williams.
Nice.
Leona did so many great duets with Merle Haggard, and you know what I'm saying. And so Brent is the real deal too. He's a real good country singer, and this song that he's doing with Leona is really, really good. So we're happy to have him on here. I see, oh my God, JD on Cat. So we got Cat TV on here with us too. I'm just scrolling down through here looking, and this goes on and on. And I really want to say thank you to all the people that take time out of their busy schedule to come on and watch these shows. It's fun. I'm going to level it with everybody. We got to tell them the truth about this, Brent. This is kind of a little road stories right here.
Right.
But Brent called me exactly at 2 minutes until 7 and said, Curt, are you ready? And I said, I'm asleep, Brent. I fell asleep on the couch here. I laid on the couch and literally fell asleep. So I am totally unawake right now telling this story, but I think we're okay, man.
So if anybody was wondering about the alarm clock at the beginning of the show today.
And man, it was I've been in the studio going for days, and it's like every once in a while I'll just lay down and think, okay, I'll just lay here for a few minutes. Man, I slept like 2 hours on that couch. So I'm really happy you woke me up. And
it just catches up to you, doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, the more you work, it's like after a while you just realize you just got to crash.
Well, last I called you earlier today, you were filling your belly, so I guess you just needed a good nap.
Yeah,
you're good to go. Yeah, hey, you performed well tonight, so that's okay.
Well, I appreciate it. It's just these stories kind of tell themselves, really. But we apologize for not being here last week. Brent, you had something come up, didn't you? You had to.
I know you did. That was on you. You had.
Oh my gosh!
Somebody in the studio last week.
I'm trying to blame you for it, Brent. You're supposed to take the bait, man.
Yeah, it was on me.
Well, it's really it's been a long week, but we're going to get back on schedule. So we do this every other week. So we'll be back on not next Monday, but the following Monday.
Right. Well, it actually worked out well if we keep it that way, because next week is Memorial Day. So I hope everybody will take the time out to remember why we mark Memorial Day and remember those who gave that ultimate sacrifice for our freedom.
That's right. Yeah, we always need to remember that, and those guys don't get enough recognition, in my opinion. So, but anyway, we're not going to keep them on here any longer, Brent. I've enjoyed this, and so I want to say thank you again to everybody that came on and watched the show, and we'll be doing it again a week after next. So, just don't get a job on the road unless you're with crazy people. Okay, just keep your job. All right?
The moral of the story. Make sure you're following the Clarksville Creative Sound Facebook group and also Curt Ryle's Road Stories Facebook group so you can stay plugged in to all the latest here. And we'll be back here week after next with more Curt Ryle's Road Stories. Curt, good hanging with you.
You too, Brent. Adios, everyone.
Oh, there'll always be a honky-tonk in Texas. And from the dance floor you will hear twin fiddles play. At last call there'll be a jukebox in the corner, playing He Stopped Loving Her Today.